You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/Indieheads podcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll receive episodes early, gain access to our Discord server, and get yourself an Indieheads podcast sticker. Main episodes go up on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones Patreon supporters, including Georgia Mikowski, History of Violet, Ataxin, Delaney Mothman, Josiah Duncan, Marcy Anime, Matt Cameron, Alex Gershmanoff, Cal 50, Chance Holdup, Charles, Chris Wade, Commander of Beef, Gavin Forandy Freak, Grant, Griff, I Want a Girl with a Short Skirt and a Long Penis, Ian, Insomni Black, Jake Wald, Jamie Elward, Jay, Jenna LaFleur, Keep Autism Weird, Maze Farms, Mark Barry, Matthew Taylor, Max Kapazinski, Nicole Rifkin, Rena Kay, Robert Mariano, Sarah Moore, Tay, Tim Discount Prices, and Zach. And if you want to be amongst these names, consider upgrading to our Real One tier on Patreon, where you'll receive a bonus episode every month on top of other perks. And before we move to the episode, I just want to thank the rest of our Patreon supporters, including Jason Daphnis, Kevin Cookman, AJ Moser, Alec Felder, Alexis Davin, Ellie Eleanor, Bailey March, Becca Etienne, Chedas, Cody Gagan, Derek Pemberton, Eleanor Grams, Racer Red Baby, Eric Chow, Finitrice, Gavlin, Gator First 20, Holiday Kirk, Jack Tiggleman, Jacqueline Kanaga, James Boss, Jeremy Ball, Josh, Willie, Matthew Herring, Matthew McPherson, Midwest Maxwell, Molly O'Brien, Nato, Rainey Donaldson, Sarah L., Toonses, Vingle LaFleur, Will Griffin, and Wilfer Threll. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Indieheads podcast. I'm not sure if this will be a bonus or an FYC just yet. I will not figure that out until probably I'm getting this uploaded onto Patreon, where I'm like, yeah, we'll do it as FYC or we'll do it as a bonus. But if it is an FYC, you're probably saying, oh, Joyce Manor, I used to go to this bar. So we're going to talk about the new Joyce Manor album, which is true. We are going to talk about the new Joyce Manor album that just came out a few weeks ago. But really, this podcast is not just about that record. We're doing a discography ranking of the 7 Joyce Manor albums. And this is the 7 studio albums, so we're not counting Songs from Northern Torrents or Collection or any of the splits they've done. Although there are some Joyce Manor fans that would do that. I am not one of them. I may be a very big fan of this band, but I'm not that much of a fucking nerd. So we'll keep it simple with the 7, but it's not just me, because it would be boring if it was just me telling you my Joyce Manor rankings. Gotta have someone to bounce off of, and I'm very happy to have Jay joining me on this episode. Welcome back to the pod, Jay.
Howdy, Matty. Very excited to talk about indie rock for the first time on this podcast ever. Especially current indie rock and recent releases. It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. After talking about 50s music for essentially 10-11 weeks straight almost, I'm very happy to be talking about current modern music that doesn't make me want to blow my fucking brains out. Although the last episode wasn't that bad, but it was rough. It was rough.
That stuff is so rough to me. Like, it's just the kind of music that I cannot touch with a 10-foot pole 90% of the time, even though I was on like a couple of those. Like, man, I have to be in a specific mood to listen to any music that was made before they legalized guitar distortion and blast beats. So, yeah, it's
I just don't understand. Good. I just don't understand how how did it take that long for pop music to get good? Like, we figured out how to make movies good, like popular movies good, pretty quickly in the medium, but pop music took us until, essentially the 60s to like figure out like a good consistent formula for pop music. Man.
It's because people were they had to outlaw, people doing things like the twist and the nasty dance, the hucklebuck.
Exactly.
Like, you can't have people rocking and rolling in the back of cars, as it were. And that's why it was legal suppression by the man, I'm sure. That's the conspiracy for the day. So, man.
But the man is no longer around, but the band Joyce Manor is still around, as we got 7 records in front of us. I've got my ranking, you've got your ranking. So the way we're going to do this is very similar to how Red Letter Media has done some of their director ranking review videos recently, where we both have our own lists, but we'll be bouncing off of my list as sort of like that is how we're going to talk about all 7 records. We'll go through my list and sort of bounce off and talk about this really great band. But before we get into, I guess we'll. I mean, this is probably we'll probably get into it as we talk about the records. But I do think it's important to sort of start off with like a brief history with the band of like our own personal history with the group. I'll let you go first because you have way more. You have a longer history with this band than I do, because my history compared to yours is relatively shorter, because I don't really come into the picture until like the end of the 2010s, really.
Hey, I mean, there's never a wrong time to get into America's finest pop punk act, I suppose. If that's what we're calling them. But yeah, no, I mean, I started listening to Joyce Manor around 2010. I think like there was a web forum that I was on where a guy that was on the forum with me uh, was telling everybody about this cool new band from where he lived in Torrance, California, outside of LA. And he was like, this band's going to be the biggest band in the world. And it was Joyce Manor. And so I think he sent over a lot of their stuff, like when the constant headache EP that doesn't have constant headache on it. Is that what it's called?
I think
I don't
so.
remember. Yeah, constant headache EP comes out and he sends that over and it's just like mind blowing at the time. It's like, damn, this is sick. And then he sent like all of the old rarity stuff as well when that happened. Um so like still pre self-titled record coming out, and then like self-titled comes out the next whatever that is. I think it's like January 2011 or something like that. And ever since then, it's just been like, wow, this band is incredible, and they have been making good music ever since. So yeah, I think I've been locked in now for like Jesus Christ, like 16 years, which is almost half my life, which feels insane that I've been. It also like it just speaks to the longevity of this band that like they've been around for 16 years and they're still making music that like I look forward to and that other people look forward to that have been listening as long as me, because I don't think they've like lost anybody along the way. I think that they're just kind of like they're definitely doing similar things, but it's not the same thing. They've
Mhm.
evolved. And so it's kind of like, wow, this band's been around for 16 years and I can't name like a lot of newer bands that have that same longevity and career that people haven't like gotten tired of. So
Mhm.
yeah, what about you? When do you tap into this whole thing?
So I don't really tap into Joyce Manor. I initially tap in 2016 when Cody comes out,
Hmm.
and I like Cody at the time. I saw them live the year after when I was living in Chicago on the Faded Waves Culture Abuse Joyce Manor tour,
Oh yeah,
which
I was
in
there.
retrospect is a cursed tour aside from Joyce Manor. And like I saw him live, I had a blast. Like I like got in the mosh pit even. I was like, I think I was on a date with somebody, and I was like, because I got free tickets because I think we did something with them on Indieheads, and so
Oh
I was
nice.
able to get into the show for free. And so got to be like, hey, got to hey, be like a cool dude on my date.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just kind of drop out of the picture. I think I listened to $1 Million to Kill Me when it comes out, but just doesn't really stick with me all that much. And then and at this point I have not listened to anything other than Cody and $1 Million to Kill Me. I did not go back in the catalog, maybe a song or two, but it's not really until like 2019. I want to say either it was the 5-year anniversary of Never Hungover Again, or like it, or early 2018. For some reason I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna put on Never Hungover Again, and like immediately for the rest of the year am just obsessed with this album. Listen to it incessantly throughout the year, get into the back catalog, and then the next year get super obsessed with Of All Things I'll Soon Grow Tired. And like they immediately are like, okay, this band is one of the most important bands in my lifetime. Like this band's great, they're awesome. and since then just have been a big fan. Seen them a number of times live. I'll talk about probably with our first album, seeing them fucking play at Long Beach Arena, like the biggest show at this point they've still played. At least it's a headliner, although they've got Coachella coming up in 2 months as of the time we're recording this. So
That's
I guess that's going
crazy
to
to
change.
think about.
Yeah. But yeah, and then so since then, yeah, just been a really big fan, and I think early on I was pretty like narrow minded in terms of like where I was like, well, yeah, never hung over again of all things. Like those two records are great, and the rest are good, but like since then, I have maintained that I think they have one of the most consistent catalogs of just like any band, not just like of like of like just the 21st century, just like ever. Like
Yeah.
every album they put out is some level of great. Obviously some very high, and then some where it's like a great it's like a lowercase g great versus capital G great as we get down on our list. And with the most recent record, which we'll get into very soon, uh just it's crazy that they're still this good, because bands in this genre do not stay this good for this long. Like,
No.
and not just like it's just it's pop punk, power pop, even like indie rock. Like bands do not stay this good for this long, but for their unique set of influences and circumstances, they have maintained a level of greatness that is just genuinely baffling. It's genuinely baffling
Yeah.
that this band is still great when so many of their peers have either just completely fallen off both in like records are no longer good, and also just like imploded. Like for
Hmm.
me, like when I think of who Joyce Manor's contemporaries are, or at least at the time, I think of like Modern Baseball and like all those emo bands, like Modern
Yeah.
Baseball and Foxing and Hotelier, and all those bands imploded. Like Modern Baseball obviously broke up. Hotelier broke up for a while. They're reunited, but there's no plans for new music. And then obviously Foxing, like after sort of years going up and down, like they finally broke up. And but here's Joyce Manor. Really, the only band members they've lost are their drummers, to the point where like, fuck it, we're just not gonna have a drummer anymore. We'll just hire guys
Yeah.
in the studio and live and just be us three, because that's the core of the band at the end of the day.
Right. And I think that like when it comes to their contemporaries and things like that, they're one of the few bands that like didn't lose the plot. When I think of their contemporaries, I'm thinking of like Tiger's Jaw and Title Fight and another band that imploded. Well, I guess like both Title Fight and Tiger's Jaw kind of imploded, and then, Tiger's Jaw has been running around as like uh it is what it is now, but after Adam left, it was kind of like, this doesn't seem to be the same band that I liked listening to back in the day.
Yeah.
But when I think about like other bands that were around Joyce Manor, I think of those kind of like Run for Cover era bands and No Sleep era bands that like either didn't go anywhere, whether that's bands like you know I guess none of them didn't go anywhere. But when I think of the contemporaries, I'm thinking about like your Touche Amores, your La Disputes, Menzingers maybe, but like these bands that kind of just like continued on, but maybe they just don't sound the way that they used to. And I think like Joyce Manor, there's barely any difference except for, maybe just less screaming,
Yeah.
maybe just like less intense drum parts, but otherwise like, I don't think this band has like lost a step in who they are from one record to the next. They've evolved, like I said, and they've just kind of like developed different little ticks and things like that I think a lot of other bands, when they've tried to like reinvent themselves, they have not done a good job of it. So
Hmm.
yeah, man. I don't know. You want to hop into this?
Let's get into it. So 7 studio albums, so 7 places on my list, and I've got my list here on paper. This
Hmm.
green, it's the greens. Damn, the green screen technology on Discord. It's crazy. I don't have like actual paper, so I literally just grabbed one of the generic letters I send to people whenever I send people Indieheads podcast stickers. So there's Jay Bigga. There's Jay Bigga. You
Oh,
can
great.
briefly see him. So I've got my list here because I wanted to write it down on a physical piece of paper because doing it on my notes app just doesn't feel right. And I'm delaying the inevitable. I don't think number 7 is a shocker. I've been pretty consistent with this opinion. I felt it when this record came out. And honestly, I really did hope that like on re-listens, I would put this record a bit higher. But I'm just like, man, it's something's gonna go at the bottom, and my number 7. Oh, actually, what is your number 7? We'll go with yours first, and
Oh,
then we'll do
yeah.
mine, and then we'll go from there.
Gotcha. Yeah, my number 7 is $1 Million to Kill Me.
Mine.
And yeah.
So yeah,
What's up?
your number 7 is $1 Million to Kill Me.
That's
My
right.
number 7 is 40 Ounces to Fresno. And again, I will say this much, listeners: we are not getting to $1 Million to Kill Me until a little bit down on my list. I will not say where, but it's gonna be a little bit till we get to $1 Million. But 40 Ounces to Fresno. You don't have to say where it is. Where what, just what general placement is it? On the higher end, middle end, lower end on your list?
It is I mean, it's a spoiler, but it is directly in the middle. I think that
Okay.
this is a complete, just like, this is the middle of the entire ranking. I have this at the 4 slot. So yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know. What's your reasoning for it being so low?
And I will say again, I state this one more time. Every album they made is great. It's all
Yeah.
great. There's not a bad album on this list. Like there is no Year the Snitch in the Joyce Manor catalog. Like they've never made a bad album, nowhere near a bad album. But I think 40 Ounces is the lowest because it is the album that makes the least amount of sense to me as an album. It is the one record of theirs that really does not feel like it's a finished product. It just sort of feels like this is what we got. So, it's been 4 years, so we'll put out a record. So here's what we got.
I'm gonna be so real. It's so interesting to hear you say that with of all things, I soon will grow tired.
Okay, yes.
Background, and I mean that. I mean, like, we'll get into that record later.
It's an HR, human resources, or you're sweet.
Yes.
It's a total like that's the situation we're dealing with here. It's for me, I'm calling HR on 40 Ounces to Fresno because the thing is that there is a really great record in here. I think the most immediate issue is probably the sequencing.
Yes.
Joyce Manor sequencing is, of course, amongst the fan, is a hotly debated issue. Spoiler, I think I said it on the last episode. We were supposed to have Keegan from Camp Trash on this episode. Keegan could not make it, so we're just doing it, me and Jay. And Keegan he is basically resequenced almost every Joyce Manor album to his liking, to which I will say this: if you want to do that on your own time, that's totally fine. But if you are considering that for your rankings, no, you cannot put your own sequenced edition of the album within your rankings. It's got to be what is on the fucking vinyl. Like what is on the fucking vinyl in the CD player. Like otherwise, you cannot count it, because if you're like, oh, like if 40 ounce as it is like number 6, but my resequence edition is like number 3, it's like, no, what is it? Again, when I play this album on a streaming service or I put my fucking vinyl on the record player, what is coming out of those speakers and what songs in the order are they coming out? That is how I'm considering my rankings. And also, like, I'll complain about sequencing being bad, but like, how do I fix it? I don't fucking know. Not my job. It's your job. You're the band. I don't. Why are you asking me to resequence this bullshit? Like, I don't fucking know what to do. It's your songs. It's your project. Don't ask me to do this. But if you want to do it on your own time, it's just that's just like a fundamental disagreement I have with some of the Joyce Manor fans. Is just like it's agreeing that the sequencing on some records is tough. It's just like I don't have a strong desire to resequence myself.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did go in and resequence it myself because okay, this record has so many great things going for it that the sequencing, it is a victim of its sequencing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even me having it at 4, like I have gone and resequenced it myself because I didn't like the sequencing, and I know that like that is a when I'm ranking it, I'm not ranking it because it's my resequenced version. I'm
Mm-hmm.
ranking it because I'm like, great, like I love all of these songs and I think that they stand up on their own, even though I have adjusted the playlist myself so that it flows a little bit better. But like the the idea to open up your album with a orchestral maneuvers in the dark cover and also have it be your longest song is fucking insane.
Yeah, that's
To be
your first
polite,
problem with this sequence. Like,
yeah,
why is that the intro? Like,
yeah, I don't think that that's like the way to go about it. Like, I don't know. And I know that like I've read interviews where Barry has said, "Oh, I wanted to do that. I wanted to throw people off," and I'm like, dude, I respect that idea like artistically, but man, I like it was almost disappointing as a fan to be like, oh, that's the first track is this OMD cover, and then like it wasn't what I wanted out of it. So like in flipping it around, I think that ends up a little bit later in the track list on my own, but at the same time, not ringing off the track list. I think like some of the tracks on there are just so good that I can't really like get around even if they're in a weird spot,
Mm-hmm.
songs like Never Be the Same Again, it's just like, damn, I think that's one of the best Joyce Manor songs ever, I
Yeah.
think that something like that just sticks out harder than it ever could at like regardless of where it's sequenced on the album.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Like, this album is essentially if the original track listing for Never Hungover Again, like, it's that
Yes.
timeline of like, oh, this is like Brett didn't step in this time to fix the track listing like he did with Never Hungover Again, which we're not going to spoil too much our thoughts on that record, but I no surprises, it's probably very high on both of our list.
I should have asked you, do you have that the original track listing for
I
that?
do have I will pull that up when we talk about Never Hungover
Okay.
Again, because
Great. Cuz
it's fucked up. It's fucked up. It's so fucked up. It's one of the most disgusting things I've seen in my entire life, and I will pull it up when it comes time to it. But yeah, like
yeah.
Souvenirs, the intro just like doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Especially when you have Gotta Let It Go on this album. Like, that's a perfect intro. How is that
Mhm.
track 6? Like, how is that track 6? But again, that is like the only sequencing note that I can think of off the top of my head of like, okay, that's an immediate like fix that maybe puts this record like one or two spots higher if you just move that around. But taking the record as it is, like, and of course I know it's funny. I said like, oh, this record feels like, I guess this is just what the record we have when of all things else and Grow Tired
Mhm.
exist. But like, that record makes sense why it's a mess, because it is like, it's a mess listening to it, because half of it is like
Yeah.
fucking demos and acoustic shit, and just like it doesn't present itself as anything other than a mess, whereas this record has that sort of the post epitaph signing like professional sheen to it, where it's like, these songs are all the songs on this record are done, but like it still doesn't feel quite as fleshed out. I think obviously part of it is like the fact that two of the songs on the record are old songs.
Yeah.
Never Be the Same Again, which is great, and
Mhm.
the version that is on this record is the best version. It's definitely better than the polyvinyl 4-track edition. So like, glad that we got like a finished version of the song. And then Secret Sisters, which as an outro, I don't know how to feel about it as an outro. I think my issue is that when I listen to every album on my list aside from this one, when it's over, I'm like, okay, that was a great ending. Like, I feel like I got my money's worth. I got a satisfactory experience out of that. Whereas when I finish this album, I'm like, oh, that's it? Like,
Mhm.
okay. Like, and again, mind you, again, it is, of all things, I Will Soon Grow Tired exists, and I feel that way about that record. I'm like, where I listen to that record and I'm like, that was a satisfactory experience. I got my money's worth. That's exactly what I wanted. And it really does come down to like both sequencing and also being like one more song, guys. Do we not have one more song cooking around that we could add to the track list here to really like flesh out this thing? Like even
Can
another
we
cover
go
would be
get
fine.
one more song that Barry wrote when he was 16 and throw it on here,
Yeah,
like a
like
full band version?
exactly. Especially because like
Yeah.
they've done that now on basically every
Oh,
record
we'll get into
since.
it.
We'll get
Yeah.
into it with the new record. But yeah, I again, every song here is great, but just the flow is so off where I'm like, it just does not feel like really consistent. It's the only Joyce Manor record that I would say is just like a collection of songs versus like a full proper record. It just doesn't sound entirely finished. And it's not the songs. It's just like, all right, this is the sequencing we have. Like, all right, like they just couldn't figure it out. And they're like, all right, this is what we got. So just give it to Epitaph and be like, all right, put this fucker out. I don't know. Um, and it's just sad because it is funny where like I think obviously with the album cover and some of the promotion cycle for this album, they were kind of trying to treat it like, okay, like Joyce Manor is like this this legacy band of sorts, like pop punk indie rock lifers. They kind of
Hmm.
try to attempt that narrative, but I think they didn't realize they didn't have a strong enough record to pull off that narrative, and of course they do that now on the most recent one. Because again, I will say of everything else, this is probably my favorite Joyce Manor album cover. I think it's the best album cover they have. I love this cover; it's fucking
Interesting.
great. Um, which I know is saying something because again, I think every album cover they put out is great, but
I
this
think
is
it's the
one.
best title.
40 ounces
I think
Fresno
it's
is
the
great. Have you seen the
yeah,
original
40
cover?
ounce. Maybe. I don't know, man.
But continue what we're gonna say while
It's
I look it
very
up.
no, I was gonna say like 40 ounce to Fresno is the funniest album title that somebody has come up with in a very long time, and I feel like that's just an underrated thing. I feel like being funny is quite underrated in indie rock lately.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people took 40 ounce to Fresno as like kind of a not a like one to be clear, I love Sublime. So that's such a good cover. That's
So yeah, sorry to
that's the
interrupt.
best.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. I love that so much.
So this was the original cover, and literally, like, I think I read an interview recently where like this was basically the album cover until like almost the last possible minute, until they were doing like press photos for the album, and they did that photo that ends up being the actual cover. And they're like, and Barry's like, can we, Brett, please, can we change it? I don't want this to be the album cover
Oh
anymore. I want to do this
no.
one that we did with this photographer because the original album cover is Joyce Manor, 40 ounces of Fresno, and like sand or just in a serif font, and it's a cutout of Barry Johnson looking hung over as fuck. I don't know if I've ever seen a more hungover looking man in my entire life. Eating a burrito, eating a burrito, cut out wearing his hero is gone t-shirt. Uh,
God.
he looks brutal. Again, this album cover is great. I think I would have loved this being the album cover, but also like I'm glad that we got the current version because I think it is just it's the most striking album cover they have in terms of an image. The one that ended up on the record, but also this one would have been great too. I hope this is not. I hope someone is selling this and it's not for too much because I do wish I had this. I do wish I had this because it is really really sick. Um, but the album itself, I mean, getting into more of the songs, like again, Never Be the Same Again, one of the best songs. Gotta
Yeah.
Let It Go, fucking great song. I love Dance With Me. Don't Try is fucking great. You're Not Famous Anymore is great. Reason to Believe is super underrated song in their catalog, I
Oh
would
yeah.
say. If there's any song here that is just like on its own, like not a clunker per se, but definitely like if I'm like if I gotta pick the weakest song on here, it's probably Did You Ever Know?
You gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm sorry. That's Matty, that's the best song they've done on the last 4 albums.
No.
That's like, yes, 100%. I'm not, you gotta be out of your mind. This is beyond like, I like all of the songs on here. I think like, you really get kind of the third eye blind of it all on this record.
Yes, that's a very clear influence on
And
this thing.
and I love that. But I will say, man, no. Did you ever notice like the best thing they've done? Those fucking Beach Boys oohs in the back towards the end. Just like that's what you have to have like a major label for. Like you have to be able to. I mean, Epitaph's not a major, but you know, we'll be.
They're major indie for sure.
They're major enough. Yeah, they're a major indie. But like, no, that's what you get somebody that's producing the record to say like, oh, you guys should do like that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, man, that's what this is for. This is, you know, I don't know, man. That's kind of another reason why I have it ranked higher. Is again like this is kind of a step into a almost like a radio ready band, but still it very much maintains their sensibilities. And I think that that's like just really important in terms of Joyce Manor as a band. So yeah man.
I, I will defend my take to. I want to move to the next record, but to defend my take a little bit, I just think that like here's the thing with Barry Johnson as a frontman and as a lyricist and a songwriter, he's a very clumsy songwriter. He's very clumsy,
yes,
very clumsy, and that is the charm. I mean, some of my favorite Joyce Manor songs are the ones that feature some of the clumsiest fucking bars ever. But Did You Ever Know is just like it for me. It feels very clumsy. It just if they picked up the pace a little bit more, maybe I don't know. For me, it just feels kind of clumsy. Again, I still think it's a good song, but I'm like, if I have to single out a song here, I'm like, this is probably the one that the weakest point of the record. It's probably that, and honestly, part of it's just down to its placement on the record too, where it being the penultimate track. It's just like if it was track 8 of 10, I would feel less bad about it, but it's track 8 of 9. And so I'm like, I'm gonna hold it to a little more scrutiny in my album sequencing brain of like, oh, come on, guys, like we know you can do better, but yeah, that's my number 7, 40 ounces of Fresno. Again, and I will say for my rankings, this by the end of this year they could change. Like I could be moving stuff around again, but as it stands of February 2026, this is where my ranking stands. And moving into number 6, what is your number 6, Jay?
My number 6 is I Used to Go to This Bar.
Which again, it will not be too long till we get to that record, because my number 6 is Cody.
Interesting. So I had this at 6 until I re-listened to it. So we were close.
Yeah,
we were close.
Essentially, I mean, we basically just swapped essentially in terms of our placements almost. So spoiler, my number 5 is Jay's number 6. But Cody, of course, my first Joyce Manor record. So it does hold a special place in my heart for that, for being like my introduction to the band, but also this being my introduction to the band is the reason why it took me years to get into this band, because this was the first thing I heard where I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty good, sort of pop punk, power poppy indie rock record. And that also opinion at the time, obviously my opinion is a lot higher now. I do realize, again, knowing Barry Johnson as a songwriter more, I'm like, okay, it's charms. I'm able to appreciate this album to a greater level now. But going back to it, again, some of the flaws really popped up, and it's not the flaws you would think. I think there's some obvious ones to get out of the way in terms of like what people are talking about the most with this album. Number 1 is that this album is the longest Joyce Manor album at a whopping 24 minutes 33 seconds. Simply because it's not only the longest Joyce Manor album, it has the longest original song they've made, which is Stairs, sitting in at a whopping 4 minutes and 2 seconds. And I like Stairs. Stairs is a good song.
Have you heard the original version of it?
I have not heard the original version of Stairs.
All right, I'll send it to you afterwards, but it's a very, very old version of Stairs, like from back when they were doing more folk punk and ska influenced music, and it's something. Okay. But I like Stairs. I like Stairs a lot. I think it's great.
It's great, although again, a Joyce Manor song following a fairly standard song structure is kind of scary. but it's scary in the way that like jumping off the high dive is scary. You know, it's like, oh god, oh god, oh god. It's like, no, just like, again, you're nervous, you've got anxiety. Totally makes sense. This is a scary new experience for you. But again, you do it a couple of times. You know, you do it the first time, and then a second time, and a third time. Then it's like nothing. But you can tell that like this is not a song that was originally meant to be 4 minutes long. Like he had to be coaxed. It's like, well, hey, if you just, I the producer of this record, I believe, who is Rob Schnaff, who produced 40 Ounces of Fresno. So there's your connective tissue. It's like, hey, what are the worst Joyce Manor albums to me? It's the ones that Rob did. Which we'll get into that a little bit with this album a bit more. But it's like Rob's like, hey, well, like you could just repeat, like, hey, you wrote this like pre-chorus down, just repeat the chorus and just like repeat some of the stuff, and essentially like turn Barry Johnson's like Frankenstein mess of a song into a real boy. And it's like, oh, it's a real boy, it's a real song, but also it's kind of it just feels so unlike Joyce Manor to have a song that is you know that long and is following a fairly traditional structure, especially because it's really the only song that does that, really, maybe aside from Last You Heard of Me. But Last You Heard of Me feels way more natural if you're you know turning this Frankenstein song into a real human being, living, breathing song. But
Yeah. I think Last You Heard of Me is it's the constant headache sequel that we all deserve.
yes,
And I think that that's like a reason that I like this record so much, is that, you know, not just that song, but I don't know, man. I think that like the more I have listened to it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is better than I have given it credit for. The strong moments are like very, very strong, right?
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that goes in one ear and out the other, but the big moments, I'm like, yeah, they've still got it, man. And I think that that's kind of why I was, uh, you know, I think like by 2016, I'm not checked out on Joyce Manor. I check out for a while there after $1,000,000 Kills Me drops, and but like Cody, I listened to a couple of times, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. They've still got it, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
they can still write a hell of a song. I'm still gonna go see them live, and I sure did. I saw them on the same Waves and Culture Abuse tour. Did people get as shirtless for Waves where you were as they did here?
I'm gonna say no, because it was like wintertime in Chicago, so like probably not. But
Yeah,
like my memories of
it
that show
was
are kind of
fall.
hazy.
It was like fall here, and people got real shirtless for Waves.
Was this in Indiana or Colorado?
No, this was in Denver.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to remember like when, if again, was it like were they going east or were they going west? I do remember it was not like the Chicago winter had not started quite yet, but it was definitely getting really cold. I can't recall seeing any shirtless people in the crowd, but again, it was a long time ago. My memories are kind of it's getting kind of hazy, feeling like Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't remember. I mean, again, I've seen Joyce Manor a number of times. I don't know if I've seen anyone get shirtless at a Joyce Manor show. Maybe the Long Beach Arena show. Maybe the Long Beach show. But there was a lot of people. So like a lot of people, and I was like in my own goddamn world, you know, like in the mosh pit for that show. But back to Cody. Totally agreed. It's got some of their best songs by a good number. I mean, Fake ID, Last You Heard of Me is incredible. 18, Angel in the Snow, Make Me Dumb is one of the most underrated songs. Like that's the first Joyce Manor song that I loved. I would say like okay, what's the first one that really got its hooked into me? That's the song that's the first Joyce Manor song that I got obsessed with, was Make Me Dumb. But the record the back half is not as good. The front half is really stacked, and the back half just doesn't quite hold up to that standard. Like Over Four Begin is fine, but maybe
I'm bracing for impact here. Go on.
It's a good song. It's a good song, but it's just a
tad. No. I like that one.
Good song, a tad long. Reversing Machine is fine. Like it's fine. I don't have a super strong opinion other than it's a good song. And then the song is a mess, but so am I is a good outro. But like again, Fake ID, 18, Angel in the Snow, Do You Really Not Want to Get Better, Last You Heard of Me, Make Me Dumb. Like that's just 6 fucking bangers in a row, like of all different
Yeah.
varieties too. Especially Do You Really Not Want to Get Better, which of course is probably the first time that a number of us heard Phoebe Bridgers for the first time was on that song
Right.
unknowingly. I think Nate Roos is also on that song too, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a. I had no idea that that was Phoebe Bridgers until like 4 years after that album came out. I just was like, oh, interesting.
She again,
Very cool.
they put her on first. You know, fucking her and
Yeah.
Ryan Adams put Phoebe Bridgers on first, and one of those
And
names,
Connor Oberst.
Connor Oberst, and
Yeah.
Connor Oberst also one of the first people to put Joyce Manor on because they went out on tour with Desperacitos in 2013. That's sort of one of the
They
first
did.
like big tours that Joyce Manor did. But I will
I'm
say,
not gonna sidetrack you, but like, are you familiar with Desaparecidos?
not really.
Much. All right, like the first Desaparecidos record is incredible, and the second one is so just like it's neoliberal to a fucking real bad extent. There's some cool ideas that like, well, no, there were a couple of good singles that came out before the long-awaited second Desaparecidos album that I was like, okay, they might be cooking here. And then the fucking second record is like just such a bad fucking neoliberal piece of schlock.
I was like, what year did it come out in?
2015, I want to say.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Whereas I think the original one is 2003, and it's like it's a really good divorce record, but it's also about like drone warfare and things like that. It's a great record, and if you've never heard it, you should check it out. But the I don't know, man. It is crazy though that they were like, yeah, let's take Joyce Manor on tour and let's cover Constant Headache.
Crazy,
like real crazy.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny because I was watching. They for the most recent record, they've done a lot of like retrospective stuff, and they were talking about like that tour gave us like really high expectations because like they treated us so nice. They want to be our friends. They covered our song, and then like their next couple tours with bigger bands, like I think one of the next tours they did with another big band was like fucking Brand New, and they're like, yeah, we didn't talk to those guys in the Nardwuar interview. They're like, yeah, we like never actually met those guys. Like we never talked. We never like. Yeah, no, we were just on the tour. We were just like, how long can we go without actually like speaking to them? Because they haven't approached us. So we might as well just see how long we can hold out this Cold War, you know?
I forgot about that story. That's so good. Barry Johnson marked safe from Jesse Lacey. And honestly, all of Joyce Manor marked safe from Jesse Lacey, which is great.
Thank God.
Love to see it.
But back to Cody. It's very interesting to go back to this record with the new record in mind because I feel like in terms of like what is the most closely linked, I think that like this one, like I used to go to this bar has the most in common with Cody, I would say. Just in terms of I remember some of the hype at the time that this was Joyce Manor, especially obviously just some of the songs here, was them like trying to do that level up to be like a bigger, more commercial band and them kind of falling on their face a bit, like the reception being a little more like just way more mixed and like not really having that crossover appeal that they thought it would have. Obviously, time has been very kind to this record, and you know people love it now, and you know it's gotten properly evaluated in their catalog. But at the time, it definitely felt like this is kind of a disappointment. And I think that like the core issue of like, well, why was this not like a bigger commercial success compared to this new record, which seems to be like a very like they have a fucking radio hit. Like they have a song that was a hit song on alt radio. Like why is it working now versus why back then? And like as someone that did the car commercial #1 series, I will tell you this was not the sound of alternative music in 2016. I used to go to this bar is the sound of alternative music in 2025. Like things have swung back around to their, you know, the sort of the pop punk, indie rock, emo style shit. Whereas like in 2016, like we're still firmly in Panic at the Disco territory. Like they're not touching Cody with a 5-foot pole.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the new song being a hit, it's not that it's out of the question for Joyce Manor to make a song like that, because I think the writing's been on the wall for a long time for them to come out with something like All My Friends Are So Depressed.
Yeah.
In terms of just like their influences and things that they've tapped into in the past, but at the same time, uh, man, like I don't know, I'm not like the biggest fan of that song in particular, and like it's not bad by any means, but it is. I think the other thing is that like the concept behind All My Friends Are So Depressed is a lot more palatable than Fake ID was. Where like I remember when Fake ID came out, and a lot of people were super turned off by the Kanye West line and like did not listen to the song at all. And I was like, they're not like, it's not about Kanye being good, and but it was post The Life of Pablo, and I was very much on board with it at the time. And 10 years later, I don't agree with what Barry Johnson said on that song. But uh, that being said, like I think a lot of people were turned off just by the lyrics. Like they just did not pay attention to like the song is about like lying to a woman,
Yeah.
which most great songs are about. But like they're not, they were like I don't Kanye, I was like you gotta turn this off, like you need to listen to a fucking song for once in your life.
Mhm.
Media literacy rates just continue to plummet in America, but they've always been pretty low. But yeah, man, I don't know, like I think that just in general, I think you're right in terms of appraising it, like saying, hey, this is better than we thought it was. But at the same time, I gotta go feed this cat. I'm gonna be right back. So,
all right, we'll be
I'll
back with
right
our
back,
number
man.
fives in just a second, folks.
That's the last you heard of me. And that's the last you heard of me.
Yeah, I will say the only other note that I had on Cody is that I think Reversing Machine is a secret classic. I really love that song. Even if my brain does fill in the lyrics as people used to tell me that I could buy and sell weed. I don't know where that came from, but I'm like,
I mean,
yeah,
it sounds
sure.
like a Barry lyric.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds like a Barry lyric, so like totally makes sense in my head. But yeah,
Fair enough.
there we go. Number
So,
6, Cody.
yeah, you've got Cody.
And number 5 on your list is,
Number 5 is Cody.
and my number 5 is I Used to Go to This Bar.
Yeah.
I thought this would maybe rank a little higher, a little lower, but obviously with what I have ahead of it, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of tough to put it anywhere else. But
Yeah.
new album. We'll probably talk a lot because again, this is I have not talked about this album yet in length on a podcast or anything really just yet. So new Joyce Manor album. It's only been out for a couple weeks. So honestly, this is why I think my ranking could change, just because like I will be able to live with this album for a little bit longer and figure out where it's at in my life. Although I have had this album for a little bit. I've had it since like late last year, so I've had it
Oh, wow, okay.
for a couple months. I got to the advance basically like right when it announced in like October of last
cool.
year. So I've had it for a little bit. But I think this is a really great record, and it was funny when I got the advance, a number of writers that I know also got the advance, and they were not very positive on the record. I was like actually pretty scared that like, oh god, like this is supposed to be like, it seems like this record's gonna be like this sort of this big kind of comeback of sorts for the band, like this real like commercial move, and like people are just gonna shit on it. I'm like, man, am I gonna be alone in thinking that this album is like another great Joyce Manor album and being like, damn, this is guys, this is really good. Like, am I gonna have to go out on the defensive on this album? And thankfully not. Thankfully, most critics and fans are like, yeah, this is another great record. Although there definitely has been some rumblings, some talk about just how damn commercial this sounds. This is, and I do not disagree with that, because this is very clearly the most commercial like commercial leaning / commercial forward album that this band has made yet by far. Like they have not made, like, this is pretty clearly like their sellout album, but it feels weird to call a Joyce Manor album a sellout album. It's just like, yeah. For me, my logic is like, Barry wrote a bunch of good songs and he and Brett were like, hey, these songs could actually get played on the radio, so like let's produce them in a way so that we could put them on the radio and they're going to sound good on the radio. And yeah, I think that's like half the time when people talk about like sellout albums, I'm like, they wrote a bunch of songs that they thought had commercial appeal, so they like made the songs with that in mind, of like, hey, we have these bare bones, we could turn this into something, and they turn it into something. And also, again, the whole argument of like we were talking earlier of like, this band is not the band they were. Like, this band is not. Why are you surprised that they sound like this? They've sounded like this for at least 3, if not 4, if not 5 albums. Like, they've essentially sounded like this since like Never Hungover Again, almost. But like, especially Cody. Like, why are you surprised?
There's nothing here that like makes me think, oh wow, they sold out. Like, you know, there are records of similar ilk that are clear sellout records, that are produced with a lot of sheen, that avoid clunkier moments, that are somewhat more devoid of personality. But this is not one of those records. I think the idea that a band that's been signed to Epitaph since 2016 has sold out.
2014.
2014. Thank you.
Over a decade.
Thank you for correcting me, because I lose track of things. But that now they're selling out like 12 years later, get the fuck off. Like, that's not selling out. Like, it's just, if they had sold out, they sold out 12 years ago. And I don't think that they did that. You know, the concept of like a band making music for commercials or anything like that, it's not here. I don't think that this is a fluke by any means in terms of their popularity off of this record, and especially like its big single.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's not the traditional, like, this isn't something that they've changed about themselves. They're not like courting new listeners with this, you know. It's just kind of been there for a while. Like, why wouldn't they make something that sounds like the Smiths after all these years of Smiths worship?
They've been sounding like the Smiths since 2012.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Like, there's some Smith stuff on here. Like,
Pride of Usher came out in 2012.
Right.
They've been trying to sound like the Smiths for well over a decade. And
yeah, this man's been doing a Moe's impression for a long, long time.
There is at least 1 or 2 songs every album since Of All Things I Was Soon Grow Tired where he's trying to sound like Morrissey. Like,
yeah,
you're not paying attention or something? Like, if you're like, I just don't, again, like, I just prefer those versions of Smith songs versus this one, that's totally a fair opinion. I don't blame you whatsoever. I disagree, because I think I personally still really like All My Friends Are So Depressed, although it's probably one of the weaker tracks on this album. I still really like it, but I'm like, yeah, no, like, this is, again, have you not been paying attention? If you're
right,
like, yeah, it's maybe the most outwardly Smithsy songs they made, but like, not by that much. Like,
and the answer for that kind of thing is that the person that says that sort of thing has not been paying attention and is very late to the party. But, you know, it is what it is. We can't all be very cool and be wasting our life on internet forums for the better part of our lives, you know. But like, at the same time, man, I do think that like the poppier moments are the weaker moments on this record. And I'm not saying that as like a contrarian to like think, oh, you know, they were better when they did this or that. It's like, I just think that like a song, I like All My Friends Are So Depressed, but I think that like lyrically it's a little, it's not trite, but it is like a little, I don't know. It is a little. It has
like some classic Barry clunkers. It's like,
yeah,
okay, you thought of a line and you did it, and it's like, maybe, you know, it's like you try it out and then you write something better. It's like, oh, he tried it out. It's like, oh, this is good. Like, there's some funny stuff, but it is like, there's a couple classic Barry clunkers, which again is the charm of Barry Johnson as a songwriter, is kind of when he fails at times. Like
For
he would
sure.
not be as acclaimed of a songwriter as he is if not for like having those awkward moments and like those just straight up clunker lyrics. Like
If
you wonder why people like Rivers Cuomo. It's like Barry Johnson is my Rivers Cuomo. Although
right.
not as embarrassing whatsoever, since Barry Johnson
No,
seemingly has like a relatively normal relationship with women.
yeah, I mean, to be clear, like if Barry was handsome and cool and also wrote like really good songs that were beautifully poetic all the time, I don't think we'd like him as much.
No.
I just don't think that like I don't think that the clunkers get in the way of like that being part of the personality and the charm of the band for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they themselves are not like class clowns, but they're allowed to be goofy. And I think that's a thing that I like about this band is that we're not looking at them like they're, you know, rock gods. They're not the best artists, even though like, yes, I will make some cases for them being like one of the best punk bands of their generation. But at the same time, like they're just not like they're normal guys. And that's cool and good. And it's cool that normal guys can make good ass records all the time. Now
Mm-hmm.
that being said, well, whatever it was is real brutal listen after a few weeks. I don't hate it, but it's it's real low on the Joyce Manor songs list for me.
It is.
I think it's a little too poppy.
I do really like it, but I don't disagree because it is like there is some lines and like the way it's delivered, it is the most like I did get a little bit car commercial number ones like my college radio era PTSD. Like we're not quite there, but like we're skirting a little too close to the edge. Especially because some of those like rhymes are just so like bad rhyme, man. Like bad
it's not
rhyme.
good, man.
Like not
not
good rhyme. It just it almost feels like a joke of a Joyce Manor song almost. Like it almost feels like self-parody at time. Like that's maybe why I justify it a little more. I'm like it feels almost borderline like self-parody almost. But also
Yeah,
I don't know that for sure because I'm like is Barry Johnson is capable of that, but like is that what he's actually going for on the song?
It feels like Disney-fied to me. A friend said Disney-fied, and I was like, "Damn, you are absolutely right about that."
Correct,
Like
but
that
also
feels,
I'm on the younger end, so I have a
yeah,
I feel a fondness for like Disney Channel original movies. Like that's my cross to bear as a 28-year-old man is like I still have a fondness for the DComs and Disney era music, but if you're like even slightly older than me, I totally understand that like yeah, no, like fuck that.
yeah. I think it just sounded like, wow, man. Like I don't know about this. Is like on as I don't know about that song sharing the same space on Wax as you know, Gray Guitar or anything like that.
Fair.
But I think that this is a pretty good record. I don't know. Gray Guitar is like top 10 Joyce Manor song for me at this point. Like I think that was such a nice surprise at the end of the record. I was like, damn, brand new song that is just like extremely good and still very, very, very much, you know, the Joyce Manor recipe for this whole thing.
Yeah,
So
I think it's a great outro. I guess I've heard that from a number of people. Like I think you obviously you just said that now. I think friend of the pod Alex Johnson told me that Great Guitar is like one of his favorite new Joyce Manor songs. I'm like I really like it. It's a great outro, but I'm like I for me it's like that's not really the song that I would think would be for some of the like older fans of the band or older fans insofar as like people who've been fans of the band for a while for
yeah.
that to be like the one that they really really fuck with. And again, great song, so I don't disagree at all, but I'm like for me I'm like I know where Mark Chen lives and I used to go to this bar like
I think Mark Chen is also like that's one of the best ones, especially like Barry's writing on that is really good.
oh yeah
I like even the fucking one line about, you know, would people talk too loud in the cannabis shop or whatever. I was like, man, like this is so good. Like I can't stand how good and smart that song is. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, what do you think about the I said it on the Discord, and if you join the Indieheads Patreon, you can join the Discord, which I that's the plug for the show, I guess.
And by the way,
yeah.
I am as I stated, I am 28 years old. I'm a adult man. I'm not 12. I am not 12 years old.
I am not 12.
I have been paying for Discord Nitro. So do you think a 12-year-old could pay for Discord Nitro? I don't think so. I think only an adult person can do that. So Discord, please do not ban me for being too young, like a member of the Discord that recently got suspended and had to submit their ID.
For saying I am 12 too many times.
Which, by the way, not the only person that was saying that.
No,
literally half of the Discord server was saying I am 12, and for some reason this person caught the string of everybody, which is like, what the fuck? But that's a whole other thing.
There's like, if there's any proof without me uploading my ID to Discord, it's that the proof that I'm a grown man is that I'm spending way too many times like giving my opinion about old pop punk records on the Discord. And I'm on a podcast right now talking about it. But
I will say, for this record, I think the interesting narrative of this album, just not the album itself, but just sort of like the press cycle and all that stuff, is just the fact that like Joyce Manor right now are the most popular they've ever been.
Yes.
And especially with young people, like the fans at the shows keep getting younger, which is not usually the case for bands like Joyce Manor. Usually you hit like a certain like you hit a certain point and like, okay, like that is the final time that a 16-year-old will be at your show, and they're just gonna and that's it. Whereas this time it's like, again, I will, the next time I see Joyce Manor, probably like later this summer, I'm probably gonna go see them. I'm gonna see so many X's on people's hands, and it's gonna freak me the fuck out. I'm gonna panic.
Okay, I went and saw Joyce Manor in 2017, and a friend and I thought like, oh cool, like Joyce Manor is gonna play. The pit's gonna be full of a bunch of like 20-somethings just like me. And then I started looking around after they started, and I was like, oh, I'm like old. And I was 20. I was 26 at the time, and I was like, there are so many young women here, like young girls.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be in here. I'm leaving this area. And then I did the classic unk thing and sat at the bar with all of my friends who had also just gone to the bar of the venue. That's the loudest I've ever heard a group of people scream, "You can be your own dad." Was during that show. Like and it was all clearly like young women screaming that line, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm old.
Yeah.
At 26, I feel quite aged.
Very that. I'm not going to be the one to say it, but I'm just saying it as a this is just food for thought, a general thing to say. This is not coming from me. This is just an idea. Barry Johnson is a woman. For Barry Johnson, there are times with his lyrics where I'm like, yeah, he writes like a woman, and I say that positively.
What do you mean by that?
Again, this is not for me.
What do you mean by that?
This is just a general thought. I'm kind of joking a bit, but like, this is one of the only pop punk bands that has like a pretty consistently strong female fan base. Like, you go to the shows and the makeup is not all dudes. It's like probably like 70-30, maybe 60-40 on a good night.
I would give it like 60-40 because I do tend to see like I see a lot of couples whenever I go to a Joyce Manor show. Speaking of that, I went to a show 2 years ago, maybe 2023, I guess, but it was tail end of 2023, so we'll call it like 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was Joyce Manor. So to give a slight background, Joyce Manor booked a show in Denver basically out of nowhere because a Live Nation festival was supposed to happen in Denver that did not end up happening. Like, I don't know how it happened, but we got to the weekend of the festival, and basically like no information had been shared other than, you know, a lineup of like 40 bands who would be playing the festival. And then suddenly the festival was just like not happening. Like they canceled it. Jawbreaker was supposed to headline, and they ended up playing a free show at a big outdoor pavilion here. Joyce Manor booked a show kind of last minute, and like the crowd was almost entirely like young couples, and I will say it was almost 50-50 of just like, yep, there's like a lot of, it's not just all dudes here. And it's probably because this band is fairly normal.
Yeah. Again, Barry Johnson has relatively normal feelings about women. Like he's not a psychological basket case like people in his genre. He's a pretty normal guy. Although I will say the album where he's probably the most psychological basket case is a very great record, and one that we will get to much later on this podcast. Spoiler alert. But back to I used to go to this bar. There's definitely some moments here where I think like they've kind of tapped into that a little bit times of more of the Weezer influence, but like the Weezer Cars influence is like, or even Third Eye Blind, like it's really strong on some of this record. I think one of the songs I think is probably going to end up being like a couple years down the line when we're talking like what's the most like underrated Joyce Manor song. I fucking love After All You Put Me Through. I think that song is fucking great, and it sounds they do not have many if any songs that sound like that. That's like got sort of more of like a kind of synthy part, and like Barry's like singing a little more melodic stuff. He's kind of tried that a couple times, but I think this is the one that's one of the most successful of like, wow, this sounds like not at all like anything he's made before. And I think it's an experiment that works really, really great. But like I think this album is it works really well because it does play like a greatest hits of everything you like about this band, while not, you know, playing off as like it both works as like this sort of greatest hits of like, hey, here's everything you like about this band, but it does not feel pandery at all in that way of like, hey, you have the more commercial sounding stuff, you know, obviously, well, whatever it was, All My Friends Are So Depressed, you know, the Smith sounding stuff. You have your sort of your classic Joyce Manor rippers, I Know Where Mark Chin Lives, well, Don't It Seem Like You've Been Here Before, The Opossum, and then some newer sides of them that we haven't quite seen, more of a mature side of him as a songwriter, like Gray Guitar. You know, it's just a record that uh, it's hard to come out of this record and not be happy in some way and not feel like you you got your money's worth. You know, like it's hard to come out of this record and be like, oh hey, like what you know, if you came out of this record, like if you were a Joyce Manor fan and you came out of this album with nothing, then okay, you're not a fan of Joyce Manor. Like you thought you were a fan. No, you're not a fan. Unless you're just like, there's nothing here that sounds like the folk punk shit. Like, go back to the old shit when you're on the playground. It's like, no, like they're not gonna do that shit again.
Cash grab.
This record's a cash grab. But yeah, I really love this record. I could see it being a bit higher on my list as time goes on, or potentially lower if some of the more commercial decisions age poorly. But we won't know until we know. But it is funny. I think we're going to talk about this a bit later on with Never Hungover Again when we get to that on our list. But is Joyce Manor Brett's favorite band on Epitaph?
Yeah, because they're the only good band. Yeah, because they're the only good band on Epitaph. Like, for the past
Soul Glow is good.
Yeah, okay. Like, listen,
but I will say, you look at the Epitaph roster and you're like, what the fuck is any of this bullshit? Like,
well, so the Epitaph roster for the longest time has been basically like what is making money right now?
Yeah.
Not in like not in a cool way. Like in a like, I mean, Epitaph survived by signing some really awful bands during the Warped Tour era.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, it's just not a great whatchamacallit, it's just not a great roster
No.
in terms of like good bands. I'm trying to remember, is it let me see.
Is it Falling in Reverse?
I think
the Ronnie Radke
well,
band?
yeah, no, I think what I was thinking of is I think like Smash by the Offspring basically propped that record label up for almost 20 years.
Oh yeah. It like they were able to sustain because again that record sold again a couple million copies, which is for an independent label is like that's enough to sustain you for quite a long time. And you know, like you don't get for example, like you don't get Anti existing without that record coming out. Like I think with Epitaph is that basically a lot of the cool bands that maybe would have signed with Epitaph back in the day, like they're just going straight to Anti. Like all the indie shit is going to Anti versus Epitaph. Like it's very rare that they sign like proper indie shit or something that like it's really like the coolest bands on the roster right now are like Joyce Manor, Mannequin Pussy, and Soul Glow. Like those are really your only like proper like critically acclaimed bands that like you know are commercially successful but also like Pitchfork writers like them. There's some that are like getting to that point where like a record or two from now I can kind of see them getting there like a Pool Kids or something, but like just kind of depends.
Hey, people love Pool Kids, and I'm not saying that
I like
bad.
Pool Kids, but like they haven't made that like that great record that like gets them to that next level just yet. Like, but I think they can get there. But I think it's just they gotta work towards it.
But I do think that they are for sure Brett's favorite band because they're like still a punk band. You know, that's the other thing is that it's like they're very much still a punk band. They're very much like I think Brett looks at Joyce Manor as like the kind of band that he thinks he was in, for better or for worse.
Which,
not that
for the record, we're talking about Brett Goritz, who is the founder of Epitaph Records and co-founder of Bad Religion. So people were just like, "Who the fuck is Brett? What are we talking about, Brett?
Brett Gurewitz?" Yeah, I think Brett Gurewitz thinks that Bad Religion was that kind of band, but like, look, Bad Religion. Not my favorite band in the world, but at the same time, like there's some really good Bad Religion stuff. But you want to talk about a band that did the same thing for over 7 records and consistently just made the same record a million times. Bad Religion.
But yeah, it's just very funny that he has such a clear favorite because he stepped in so many times for this band. Like Fix the Never Hungover Again track listing, probably put more money towards Cody than like made sense, and just like kept them signed even through like maybe weaker eras, or at least times where like they were just they thought they're gonna be a lot bigger and then just sort of ended up in their niche. Whereas now, of course, all that's paid off because again, they're fucking huge. Joyce Manor is huge now. Like even like the fact that they're getting ready to go on a tour, a headlining tour, which is great. And then like after that, they're doing like dates with Hot Mulligan and they're not the headliners is fucking nuts to me. But I'm like, man, Hot Mulligan is way bigger than I thought Hot Mulligan was.
They're fucking huge.
They're fucking huge. I still don't get it. I
sure don't. I sure don't either. Are they playing a big venue? Joyce Manor. Are they playing a big venue when they come through your town?
Well, they're not coming anywhere in the Triangle. I'm having to go.
Oh, okay.
I know they're coming to South Carolina, and I was debating on going out to that show, but I'm like, it's a 3.5 hour drive. It's during the weekday. I'm already taking some time off work through this time. I'm like, it doesn't really make sense. So I'm probably going to try to catch them later in the summer on that Hot Mulligan tour because they're coming to Richmond, and like, okay, it's not till June. I can take time off, and it's a much easier drive up to Richmond versus driving to like South Carolina or like trying to go to like. I'm trying to think. I think they're playing Charlotte also, but I'm like, Richmond. I maybe have people I could stay with. I actually no, they're not even playing Charlotte. I think Richmond's the closest they're coming to me this year, unless they're doing some dates like way later in the year. But that's beside the point. Again, excited to hear some of these songs live for the first time because the last time I saw them was New Year's Eve 2023, so going into 2024, and so like they probably had nothing of this record ready to go. So, but again, excited to hear how some of this stuff translates live because I think it's a great record, and I'm very glad that Joyce Manor is still around, still making great records, and it's still bigger than ever. But
they haven't got the parts. One day they'll come together.
So that was my number 5. Question number 5 was Cody. What is your number 4, Jay?
My number 4 Joyce Manor record is 40 Ounces to Fresno.
Yes. And my number 4, and this is, again, these next two, people are gonna get mad, and god damn it, these records have to go somewhere on my list, and they are here. My number 4 is Self-Titled. That is number 4 on my list.
And you should be strung up for that, but that's fine.
again, it's a great, no record here is bad. This is a great record.
Matty, I want to kill you with hammers. Just politely. Like, I cannot believe you. But yeah, man, I guess if that's your number 4, like, go tell me why this is the number 4 record.
Okay. This is the number 4 for me. Again, this band goes on to make better. The next 2 records they make are better. So that's automatically going to put it below the next 2 for me, which we'll get into in time. I think my number 1, I've said it a number of times. I don't think it's going to be a surprise for people who know me, but if you're listening for the first time, you may be surprised what number 1's going to be. So just wait and see. So there's that. I think also the fact that, like, I came to this record super fucking late. Like, I did not hear this record until at least 7 to 8 years after it came out, right? Like, so I was not there at the time when this record came out. I don't remember what the hype was around it. I don't remember the impact it made on the scene when it came out. So I'm coming in just sort of like, okay, I like Never Hungover Again. I like Cody. How does this band begin? And I will say this was my number 3 for quite some time. I think it was my number 3, but I think my current number 3 just had a couple listens where I'm like, fuck, I really love this record, and it is above it. But looking at the track list again, it is, again, I'm going to say this is a charm of the record, but also something that is definitely at the top of my mind with some of the songs. It is a very immature record at times, and that is part of its appeal, is that it is a record made by a guy in his, like, late teens, early 20s, right? It's like when Barry wrote a majority of this album is, like, yeah, when he's a teenager or, like, in his very early 20s, and some of that is great. Again, everything from, like, Orange Julius, Call Out, Beach Community, Derailed, that's a fucking killer way to open the record. Like, Orange Julius is fucking great. I don't know if I can call it underrated per se, but I do think, like, it should be up there in terms of the classic Joyce Manor songs. I feel like it, like, people kind of go more towards, like, Beach Community and obviously fucking Constant Headache, which, duh, it's Constant Headache. But I'm like, I think Orange Julius is fucking great, even if it does have, like, okay, you wrote this when you were, like, 16 or 17 years old. Like, I feel awful on the way to school. Like, that's just such a whiny, like, teenager ass lyric. But I was a whiny teenager once, so I relate to it, and I have a fondness for it. And Call Out is one. I could for sure say that Call Out is one of the most underrated Joyce Manor songs. Like, that song is fucking great in the way that it ends, where it's sort of having the repeated "I call out, I call out." Like, it's one of the songs that does not. It's the one that feels most in line with some of their later work of, like, okay, like, Barry Johnson is a songwriter, like, way ahead of his years at times. But there's some stuff here that is, like, again, good, but, you know, it's I prefer the more power poppy inclined stuff that they do later on in their career. This is very firmly, like, in that pop punk, like, fourth wave emo type shit, which, again, I have come around to a lot of that stuff in the years since, but not all the way. And so there's some remnants of that like, I have to just get over, or just, like, go, okay, just like, yeah, you used to hate this genre, you don't hate it anymore, so get over it. But still, some of the feelings linger and hold tight in there. And again, that's the thing, is that, like, to say why this is number 4, why this is so on my list, is getting into, like, such stupid minutia that, like, is totally unique to me and, like, just totally meaningless. Like, it's just, like, it's down to, like, just, like, hairs, right? Like, tiny little details where I'm like, maybe this part of the song I don't like so much, or, like, maybe the sequencing is not the strongest here, or yada yada. Like, it's so minor at the end of the day. Like the differences of like why I like this one and compared to like this, it's so minor at the end of the day. But I think the core issue for me is just like I just like the more power poppy stuff they do later on. Like I like Joyce Manor being like, I prefer Joyce Manor as the perfect trifecta of, you know, like 80s indie rock, classic power pop, and 2000s pop punk. Like that is the every record is somewhere in that trifecta of different in that spectrum of like where they're at. Like, okay, like I used to go to this bar and Cody are more in like the power pop indie rock in that trifecta. They're a little less in the, you know, pop punk emo type shit. And this one is very firmly in like where the two strongest signs are like, yeah, that emo pop punk shit. But I've been rambling for a while. Jay, go off.
All right, so I'll rip the band-aid off. This is the number one for me. This is
Okay.
by far, like, it's not just the idea that like when I heard this record, I was just like enraptured by this band and like could not escape it. You know, that like it wasn't just the idea that this is like a really good record and it's not their best to me because it is their oldest and their first. It's more that like not only is this exactly what I wanted to hear from a band at the time, it is like a full reinvigorating record for a scene that was uh, like on a pretty nasty path in terms of like regular punk rock had kind of dipped into this like mid-tempo, uh, head up its ass, like kind of singer songwriter worshipy, flat cap bullshit. A lot of like guys doing acoustic side projects, and then you have this band of young guys from California making like perfect pop punk stuff with that is like still grimy and has blast beats and is aggressive and screamy, and then it has these beautiful moments like what you got on Call Out, you know. It has the songwriting there from things like Derailed and obviously Constant Headache.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a like, it is front to back a complete like proof of concept that you can still make good, actually like solid pop punk music that isn't like, you know, pop punk that's just kind of whoa-ohs and three chords. You know, there's skill and artistry to it, and these guys just like blew the whole fucking lid off of everything. I think the other thing about it is that it so immediately became a record that everybody I knew who liked this kind of music agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it goes from being a band that nobody knows about, and then over the course of a summer, it is like you can't escape Constant Headache. Everybody knows Constant Headache. It's immediately like fucking Don't Stop Believing, and like it's that kind of thing for like 30 something punks who you remember where you were when that song came out, and or the first time you heard it, in a way that like it's so hard to look at any other band from this era and say, yeah, I remember where I was when I heard this or this. Like, I have a really good memory, so I can't usually partake in that sort of thing because I remember where I was for every like first time I heard a song.
Mm-hmm.
But like for a lot of people, they remember the first time hearing Constant Headache. They remember the first time hearing the Joyce Manor record. It wasn't uncommon to just kind of like have it on repeat. It was the kind of thing that when I went into college radio, like if you knew about Joyce Manor, you were probably like into the other music that I was spinning, and people like started to like it because of it. I had people tuning in, and it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm meeting people through this band, and it also wasn't like, it wasn't off-putting. You know, it
Mhm.
wasn't with the amount of bullshit that I listen to that is extremely off-putting, this is not one of those bands. And I think that like it being so immediately beloved by everybody is kind of the reason that it stays so like high on my list. I think that this is the kind of record that when you go back and look at it, it's like, yeah, this is kind of like Dookie. This is kind of, you know,
the album Dookie, not
the
not,
album. Yeah,
not
the album, the Green Day album Dookie. Not doo-doo, not ass juice. You know, just like this is the fucking like this is the one, man. This is it's snotty, it's really heartfelt, it's not up its ass, it's like it's easy to sing along with, it's fun, it's just the kind of record that like I think most bands yearn to make, and they just knocked it out of the park. And I'm, you know, again, it's not that the other records are worse and that, you know, as they've gone on to become a better band over the years, like technically, you know, I still look at this kind of thing and I'm like, damn, they really just like they nailed it on self-titled.
So yeah, and I think that is like you were there, like you
right,
like not just the context of like you had the full context of like what was going on in the scene at the time and how dire things were. Where I'm coming in after like again things have been fixed up, like the bomb was dropped and society like hey all the buildings were rebuilt by the time I got to this album, you know, like
right.
But I did not have that context whatsoever. And I think like that's always going to be the thing with this record where like again, it's a great record. It's unfucking deniable. Like I'm not stupid enough where like I'm like this is no, it's a fucking great record, but like I having not been there, there is that like little special magic sauce to it of like if you were there that like I'm just never going to have. And that's okay. Like you can't always be there for some of this stuff.
Well, and that's kind of the thing about like I see, you know, I've made a lot of jokes about the people that'll wear shit like a hat that says I wish Title Fight was still around or whatever. And it's like you don't like you want, and I'm not saying that you had to be around to like get Title Fight or to get Joyce Manor self-titled, but it's like no, you should look for that record for your people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like you should look for that kind of thing. I don't expect everybody to think the same way about the Joyce Manor self-titled as I do. But like for me, it's easily a number one versus for you. It's like, yeah, of course, like if you came in later, you're listening to it, you're like, this isn't that refined. But I do think that like a lot of the songs on the self-titled are more complete thoughts than what we get on later records. Oh, yeah. And that's not just because of the song structure being a little bit more intact on the self-titled versus like the later records. Like it's a matter of these are songs that they felt that they needed to flesh out, whereas on later Joyce Manor records, you know, they don't have to justify themselves with another chorus or with a solo or anything like that, for better or for worse. And so I think that's kind of where we land. It's like, you know, I don't blame you for having it so low. I kind of can't believe it's below another record that we actually haven't talked about.
Yeah,
that's the actual offensive part.
Yeah,
but,
I think we just gotta rip the
we gotta get into
off.
It. Yeah,
I was gonna say I want to go back to I used to go to this bar very quickly. Very quickly, just because I forgot there's one little extra thought that I had, and that I think it's in terms of the sequencing of that record, it's probably the best sequencing job they've had since probably Never Hung Over Again. I would say like not many flaws in the sequencing. I would say like that is a very well sequenced record. Like that's honestly part of the reason why I think it has been as acclaimed as it is, because it's like okay, like finally a fucking Joyce Manor album that is greatly sequenced and I don't have to do any bullshit to make it better. It's like again, it makes sense from beginning to end. Like maybe one or two things that move around, but like I get a full complete picture that with I used to go to this bar and grill.
I used to go to this bar and grill. That's right.
That's
right.
Joyce
That's
Manor's like used to go to this bar and grill.
To go to, man.
But okay.
Rest in peace, Toby Keith.
Rest in peace,
But
Toby
yeah,
Keith.
no, I think I do think that record is sequenced well. I think that the self-titled is like, it's kind of like cheating in terms of sequencing that you get Constant Headache to end with.
But yeah, no, like they're never gonna write a better outro than Constant Headache. Like
no, but you know.
But I think for you,
it's Orange Julius though. Starting out, it's like, man, we're already cooking.
Yeah,
right there. Like we've got that. You got Beach Community. You've got Laundry Day Call Out. Like, dude, everything. You got Derailed. Mm-hmm. Like it all feeds into each other in such an obvious way that like the sequencing on that record, it's like, oh man, you know, we're cheating here. Like we got it way too good. It can't fail.
Like we need to number 3 because again, number 3 again, Beta needs to be ripped off. I think also like from what I'm getting at with like your thoughts on this record, it's sort of a classic case of you have your entire life to write your debut album and then 2 years for the next on the next one.
Yes.
And this is one that's like this record is and Barry felt this way. We'll definitely get to this when we get to the next record in terms of the number, in terms of the chronological order of their catalog. Like for Barry, like hey, these were the 10 best songs that I've ever written at the time.
Yeah,
and it's like these are my 10 best songs, and we're gonna put them all on a record. And then of course when it came time for the second one, he's like, oh fuck, I put my 10 best songs on one album. Fuck, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do on the next one.
It's interesting. I kind of wonder if he still feels the same way, where he's like, I put the 10 best songs I've ever written on the record, and that's why like you get you get the fuck koala cost on the new record, where he's like, well, like, listen, we're going down the list, and I would put what is it called on the new record?
Don't it seem how
it doesn't seem like you've been here before.
Yes.
Where he's like, listen, like we're at about the 70 range. I'd put fuck koala cost. Well, doesn't seem like you've been here before. In there, you know, like maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can talk about like all the split EP stuff another time, but I will say like some of those songs, like I've been really enjoying the reintegration of the Joyce Manor back catalog into the new records.
Yeah.
And I think that like I will say like we got to let Matt sing another song.
I agree. Like, let him cook again.
My Elise is one of my favorite Joyce Manor songs. And I would love to hear that one on a new record, or just any other song that just let Matt cook the whole time. He's a great singer.
I will say,
let it happen.
I will say, well, actually, I know we need number 3, but again, 2 more things because one thing I was like, I told someone I would mention this on the podcast because I do want to get your takes on one thing. One song that I am surprised did not end up on this record is Chumped. Chumped would have fit so fine. Chumped is one of the best songs. Like Chumped is fucking awesome. I'm a bit surprised it didn't end up on this album. But I
think that's because it like I think Chumped and 5 Beer Plan and the other song that's on the Constant Headache EP, like I don't like either they didn't want to re-record them or they just felt like there was like they've already put it out. Why am I going to re-put it out? Like I know that these 2 songs are going to make it, but you know,
it's probably just like a classic Beatles move of like some of the best Beatles songs are singles that never ended up on their albums. You know, like
that's true.
Like earlier this week, I got super obsessed with Paperback Writer because Paperback Writer is one of the best songs ever written. It's a banger. Like, what the fuck? How did this not end up on an album? And it's just like that's just how it worked back in. Singles and albums are just like totally different beasts. Like, just sometimes singles are just like truly separated from the albums. Like they just like, hey, you're going to the studio to write get like 2 or 3 singles pumped out, and then you go back in like a couple weeks later for the actual album, you know, and like maybe every now and again if a single pops off, you throw it on an album, but like sometimes it doesn't. It's very weird and bizarre. But before we move on to my number 3 and your number 3, well, it's not your number 3. It's definitely my number 3. It's definitely not your number.
Yeah, definitely not.
But number 3, but we'll talk. I want to hear what your number 3 on your list is. There was the 2021 remaster of the self-titled that came out, and I did not re-listen to it before this episode, probably for good reason, because it's not very good.
Yeah,
It's
it's go ahead.
I understand why they did it, because the first record is like kind of by modern production standards is pretty jarring. Like it is a very like super DIY type record, but that's its charm. So I understand when to go back and redo, you know, sort of uh go back and like kind of fix up these songs, maybe like engineer them more in the way that like current Joyce Manor stuff is engineered. But like it's not terrible, but it really is like, why does this exist? Like at the very least, I'm happy that like it's just its own separate thing. They're like, hey, if you want the old record, hey, you can listen to the old record totally fine. We're making that's gonna stay accessible. But you know, we wanted to do this remaster for the 10-year anniversary, just to give it another go and see how it sounded. And it's not great. It's not great.
Yeah, I liked it at first, and then I gave it about a week, and I was like, I think I liked it at first because I was like, oh wow, like you can hear everything on this, and then a week later, I'm like, oh, you can hear everything on this.
Yes.
Like it's all way too separate.
Mm-hmm.
Like the tracks are all very defined, and I can hear everything, and it doesn't sound like it's all played together. It sounds like it's coming from different rooms of the house in a bad way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked it for about a week, and then I was like, no, hold on, like
doesn't work.
There's something wrong here. Yeah, it doesn't work. Give me the original. I still go back and listen to the original if I have the choice. Mm-hmm. So
although I do think this is the only version of the album I own on vinyl, because I do have, I believe it's the picture. Ooh. It's the picture disc.
Oh, this remaster. Okay. So it sounds like shit anyway. No.
Yeah. So
just
like, hey, I didn't have the pre-orders went up, and I'm like, well, I don't have this one yet, and the original probably is way too expensive because the rights are all like fucking bizarre, because it is on Asian Man now, but it wasn't on Asian Man initially. It was on
6131 with the first Julian Baker record, actually.
Yeah. So rights wise, it's probably a mess. So like, okay, the remaster is a way to get around like actually getting it out there to people in a more accessible. But yeah, it's not a terrible remaster, but it's not necessary. I'm just like, there's no real reason. Like it's not that it wasn't that old. Like
no.
I would just say it's like cool experiment, but like not necessary. But like I guess it's like it's fine to exist, but it's not great. But it's not to the level of like, it's like I can't get that mad about it. Like compare like on the scale of like bad remasters, it's like in the middle. Like it's like we're not at 2009 stereo Beatles mixes. Like we're not that bad, you know, like all the hard panning and all that bullshit.
No,
like it's just it sounds a little more wet. I think it's just a bit more of a wet mix.
Does sound wet.
So
does sound wet. Jesus Christ. Why is the version of the self-titled that I have on
what version do you have?
It's 200. I've got it back on 6131. And I think I've got the clear version. And somebody said it like the last sale is for $250, which I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, if you gotta make,
I don't think. No, I'm not. That's one that I'm not getting rid of that one.
Oh, no. So like I won't do that. Like all my Death Grip records, I'm like, I'm not selling any of those, even though like I could probably sell government plates for a pretty penny if I wanted to. But I'm like, nope. That's gotta stay with me.
I would love to have a copy of government plates, but it is what it is. No, I would never sell that one. I've sold basically everything I think I would sell at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was looking, and I think I accidentally sold my copy of All Things I Will Soon Grow Tired, which I had the first press.
Ooh.
And I whatever. Like I don't care. I wasn't listening to that record because we'll talk about it, but
it's
we'll
13
talk about it
minutes long.
Yeah, man, and it's pressed on both sides, and it's like get the fuck.
That's fucked up. Just put it on one. Just put it on one side.
Right.
Just have the side be a blank side or like an etched side at that point. Like what the fuck?
No, my thought was always put the record on both sides. Just do it.
Yeah.
Put like two-sided, but it's the same on both sides. So that if I pull the fucking thing out of the the thing, like if I pull the thing out of the vinyl sleeve,
No matter what, I'm getting the record I want to play.
Exactly, throw it on there. But yeah, anyway.
And that ends part 1 of this Joyce Manor ranking, discography ranking podcast. The original recording for this went over 3 hours, and you know what? We're gonna break it up. We're gonna really draw out this this discography ranking. So if you want to hear the rest of our rankings, well, if you're listening on Patreon, hey, you just gotta wait 3 more days, and you got it. But if you're listening to this, the public version of this, well, hey, part 2 is going to be on Patreon on Wednesday. So you want to hear that episode 48 hours early, along with all of our other episodes? Go to patreon.com/Indieheads podcast and support us for just $1 a month. And you get that plus access to our Discord server and get yourself a Indieheads podcast sticker. Stickers, actually. I'll send you multiple. I don't give a fuck. Anyways, come back on Wednesday for Patreon supporters and Friday for the public for part 2 of Jay and I's ranking of the Joyce Manor discography. See you very soon, listeners. Goodbye.